Good afternoon, guys. How are you today? Are you alright? Welcome again to our English class. We're gonna start with our book, and after that, we're gonna do an online activity. Yep. We were checking yesterday comparatives and superlatives, and also have got. Have got, which is the same. I've got, you've got, she's got, we've got, it's got, they've got. It's the same as saying I have, she has, etc. Right? We are in unit 9. In unit 9, last thing that we checked, it was this part. I think, yeah, it was this part. Making comparisons and the superlatives, right? Here, the most expensive, the tallest, the biggest, the highest, the oldest, more or less of the same rule as if it's a short adjective, we are going to add est. Est. If it's a long adjective, we're going to add most, the most. And here the opposite, we were checking here, loud, quieter, slow, faster, late. Why weren't you here earlier? Cheaper, expensive, cheaper. Here, nearer and closer. Can I do something harder or more difficult? It was that part. Yep, that the last thing that we checked. And as homework, it was this part. Yeah, correct the sentence here. Choose the correct sentence. So what is the correct one here? Yesterday was more hot, or yesterday was hotter than today? ¿Cuál es la correcta?
The second one.
Second one. Yeah, agree. The other people are agree or disagree. Yeah, agree everybody, I think. What about the second one? The second one, which one is the correct? The first or the second? She's taller than her brother, or she's taller than her brother. Hay una palabra que cambia.
The first.
That not really, because that is not a comparative. We need to use a comparative word than. Number 3, which one is the correct?
2. I'm the youngest.
The youngest, exactly. Yeah, vemos un poquito larga esa palabra, but it's actually one syllable. Young. Yeah, no es young, no? It's a short syllable, one syllable. Entonces, the youngest. Number 4. Which one is the correct?
The second.
The second. This exercise is the most difficult in the book. Yeah, it is correct. The, because it's necessary to write the. It has to be like that. We have superlative. Most of the time, it is with the article. Number 5.
I've got 3 sisters.
I've got the first one. Did you say the first one? ¿Dijiste la primera?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It is correct, actually. The first one. I've got. La otra está mal dicha, de hecho. Puedes decirla, but it's badly said. It's badly said. People in the street could say this, no? Especially American people. No? Como que en vez de decir have, they get got. And finally,
She hasn't got a good job.
she hasn't got a good job. Correct. Yeah, she hasn't got a good job. Perfect. Any questions about here? so far? No? So let's move on. Let's move on to the next pages. The next pages actually it's a reading. Yes, it's a reading, reading and speaking. Yeah, life at the top, life at the living in the high life. Look at these skylines, match them with the cities. Do you know the names of any buildings? Which city do you think? Before we start reading, guys, there's here some pictures. You can see we have, well, I'm not going to tell you which one is. So we have here the cities: Istanbul, Rome, Sydney, New York, Paris, and Moscow. Which city do you think has the highest or the tallest skyscraper? Rascacielos, skyscraper. So guess the city according to the background, no? Acuerdo al background. So write the city here. Choose a city. I'll give you 2 minutes and we check together. Yeah, 2 minutes and we check together. There you go. You can see better the images, the photos. In each city, there are important landmarks. Okay, so here, what is the city? Letter A,
Paris.
Paris.
Paris. Yeah, Paris. And we have here the Notre Dame, the Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe, Moulin Rouge, Versailles Palace. Important landmark. Okay. I'm not sure about this one. What about letter B?
Rome.
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 Rome, yeah. Famous in Italy. We have the Colosseum. And the others, I can't recognize the others. There is an important statue. Oh, here. Maybe Pisa Tower, this one, but I'm not sure. No, Pisa Tower, no, because it's in Pisa. I'm not sure about this. Maybe the Parthenon, something like that, Parthenon. What about this? Letter C?
New York.
New York.
New York. The statue, ¿cómo se llama? What is the name of this?
Liberty statue.
Vice versa. Statue of Liberty. What about this? Creo que es el Brooklyn Bridge, no? There is a cathedral in the middle of the city, but I don't remember. What about letter D?
Moscow.
Istanbul.
not really Moscow. It's actually Istanbul because of the mosque structures. Las estructuras como, ay, ¿cómo se, en español, cómo se dice? Bueno, los que tienen como iglesias redondas, como cúpulas.
Bóvedas.
Bóvedas, well, I'm not sure about the word, but yeah, it's just, no sé qué es como mosque. Mosque is the word in English.
Cúpula.
Yeah. Letter E, what is that? Where is that?
Sydney.
Sydney.
Sydney, of course, Sydney. The famous landmark, que nada más es el único que me sé, es the Opera House. The Opera House. So it has buildings. It has a tower, but I don't remember its name. And this is a very well-known bridge, very popular bridge, but I don't remember its name. Yeah. And finally, ahora sí, Moscow. Moscow is famous in Russia nowadays. Is the most hated country, unfortunately. Yeah, desafortunadamente is the most hated because of the war between Ukraine and Russia. And the most famous landmark is San Basilic Cathedral. It is a colorful old church, yeah, or well, cathedral again, an ancient cathedral, no, the Orthodox Catholics. I don't remember the others, to be honest. But the most famous landmark is the San Basilic Cathedral. What's the difference between a skyscraper today and in the past? Well, skyscraper nowadays, they are the highest, yeah, the highest and the tallest. And nowadays they are more modern. I don't know, I don't remember, but I saw some news on the internet. In Dubai, you know that Saudi Arabia in Dubai, it has the tallest and the highest skyscraper. They are going to build another, even higher, even taller than the previous. Burj Khalifa is the tallest. So they are building this building. Is going to be higher than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. So what kind of people want to live in the skyscrapers? I would say rich people, no? Only rich people who enjoy being, in the heights and alturas. Would you like to live in a skyscraper? ¿Te gustaría vivir en a skyscraper in the floor 50 or 100? Would you like to live in a skyscraper?
No,
Not
no, I
really.
wouldn't.
No, I
wouldn't.
don't prefer live in a house.
You prefer living in a house? Oh yeah, me too. I wouldn't like to be, in a house, even if I have a balcony or a swimming pool in the highest. No, I wouldn't. What makes living in the skyscraper easier nowadays? The elevators, no? The lifts. Well, no, elevator in British English is lifts. Elevator is in American English. Lifts are in British English. You can take a lift and go to the floor 20 in 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. No? They are easier nowadays. Right, so we are going to read these readings. But let's first read the introduction of this part. Living in the high life, you have there some towers, some buildings, like, for example, Eureka Tower. It is in Melbourne, in Australia. Melbourne is the capital, Melbourne. And we have the view from Eureka Tower. Yeah, imagine living that. Yeah, I wouldn't like that. And on the other side, we have the Columbus View in Chicago. It's Johns Hancock Tower in Chicago. In other parts of the USA, they have very tall buildings. No? So skyscraper, it is rascacielos, no? Skyscrapers. The one skyscraper around the world were full of offices, not apartments. In 2000. Only 3 buildings higher than 200 meters had apartments in them. No? Today, there are more than 250. Many of them luxury apartments for rich people who want to live in the high life. Right? You see, rich people only. Better technology makes life at the top easier. Lifts can now travel much faster, more than 40 kilometers per or miles per hour. Also, the buildings don't move so much in the wind anymore, and some of them are proof or like earthquake proof, no, earthquake proof, anti, what is it? Anti-temblores, no. For example, in Japan, most of the buildings, it's not in Mexico, it's not like in Mexico. Ellos también son como nosotros. They have a lot of earthquakes, but the buildings are more modern because they don't move so much. Not como in Mexico, the architects are lazy and they instead they steal the money. And they don't build properly skyscrapers anti-earthquake or earthquake proof. So what is it like to live on the top? We have 2 different opinions, 2 different girls. Well, actually, one woman and the other, it's a woman, but with her husband, probably. No? We're gonna read first the letter A. Rose Calder, Aroni 54, Eureka Tower. She is from Melbourne, Australia. This Rose Calder Aroni is CEO is like president of a company, CEO of a medical research charity. She and her husband lived in another skyscraper before they moved into the 91 floor Eureka Tower. Imagine 91. Oh, I wouldn't imagine that. In 2006, at nearly 300 meters, it was the world's tallest apartment block. They live on one of the highest floors in the building with their son, Gideon, and Rose loves it. It's not because of the apartment itself, she says. It's very much about looking outside. It's not about the inside. She never gets bored with the view. Every time I look out of the window, it looks different. I notice something new. There are building an even taller block of apartments nearby. We will lose part of our view, says Ross, but we can't really complain. Yes, complain, quejarse. We can't really complain. No podemos quejarnos. When she is ready to drive Gideon to school, Ross doesn't listen to traffic reports. I just look out of the window, she says, and I have 2 ways we can go. I can see the traffic from here and take the better one. There is no need to check the weather either. You can see where the clouds are, but you can't see the ground when the clouds are low. The nature can seem a long way away, but it's not only a 30-minute walk to the park. When Gideon was little, Rose says he came back from a friend said, "Mommy, we played in the park." And I said, "No, that was their cousin." The family are fine with height, but visitors sometimes find it more difficult. We had one babysitter who was so stressed out she couldn't come back, and people's ears often pop on the journey up. Yes, le tapan, yeah, pop on the journey up, just like an airplane. So imagine living in the 91 floor. It is impossible, right? Okay, here we have some questions. Vamos a dejarle aquí en estas preguntas. Here, well, tomorrow we will read about Mike. Yeah. So where did they live when they were younger? Mhm. So I want you to answer the questions that you have here in exercise 3 according to the text. The text A, please. Yeah. This part. I'm going to share the pictures for the ones who don't have the book, pero ya deberían de tenerlo. La estructura, ¿no? Is the activity number 3. Okay. Ready. Ya se los estoy pasando. So sorry for the time. Activity number 3. Listo. Okay, 3 more minutes, and we're going to check because we need to do an activity of uh, superlatives, comparatives and superlatives. No? 3 more minutes. Okay, so let's very quickly check answers. Mhm. Okay, so let's go to the questions first. So where did they live when they were younger? How tall is the skyscraper they live in? Do they live near the top of it? Are there any taller skyscraper near theirs? Yes, they are. No, they are. Are they scared of heights? Ujú. Scared of heights es temor a las alturas. Yeah. Miedo a las alturas. Scared of heights. Heights, alturas. What do they love about living there? What are the disadvantages? Now, so Rose Caldor, yeah, Eureka Tower, yeah, number one in another skyscraper. Yeah. Number two, 300 meters on one before, no, before they were living in a 300 meters building. Yes, soon they are building even a taller tower nearby. And number four, no, they are not scared of height. What they love the most is the view, no, la vista, the view. Number six, some visitors find it difficult of being so high. People's ear pop, se les tapa pop on the way up. Vale. So tomorrow we're going to read about this. Yeah, the other. If you want to do it for homework or for later, you can do this. Yeah. What's more important than the apartment and Rose? And why doesn't she get bored of with the view? Number three, why did Gideon think of his friend's garden was a park? ¿Vale? If you want to do it, you do it for homework. Mañana continuamos con este Mike Palumbo, okay? So in the meantime, we are going to just get pause here. I'm going to share one of the links to do from comparatives and superlatives. This is one. Listo, se los acabo de compartir, se los voy a compartir también aquí en el chat. Here. So yeah, here comparatives and superlatives, adjectives and adverbs, ¿no? Pero más que nada los superlatives y comparatives. It says comparatives, superlatives and adjectives. Choose the best option. Yeah. Choose the best option. No importa si aquí los adverbs, bueno, los adverbs están relacionados con los comparatives y superlatives. If you want to answer like that, it's okay. Yeah. And after you finish, you check answer. But I recommend that you go to the explanation. You go to the explanation, you read, you check the examples, and then you answer. Okay? You answer. Okay, so there are three different activities. Activity number one, choosing the correct option. Activity number two, which is choosing the correct one as well, A, B, or C. Or the final one, the final activity, it is this. Yeah, complete the sentences with the comparative or superlative words, superlative forms of the words in the brackets. ¿Vale? Entonces, estos 6 minutos, please, I'll be here, estaré aquí, pero quiero que lo hagan los tres, ¿vale? Tomen screenshot de sus resultados. No es para que es para ustedes mismos, ¿vale? Los resultados, no es para que los suban a Classroom o algo así, es para ustedes mismos. Y comparatives and superlatives, ¿vale? Y ya pudieron ingresar al link. Did you enter to the link? Did you get access to the website, guys?
Yes, teacher.
do it. Start doing it. I'll be here. Cualquier duda aquí estoy. ¿Eh? As you can see, the last part, you can also use comparing with actions with adverbs. También es posible, ¿no? Actions with adverbs. No solamente nouns, sino adverbs. For example, she drives fast, but I drive faster. I speak better. She speaks more quietly, more slowly. También es posible, ¿no? She works harder than me. She always arrives earlier. It took us longer. Okay. Vale. Finish it. Termínenlo. And that's all for the class, guys. Yeah. Si ya terminaron, it's okay. Si no han terminado, don't forget. Finish it. Vale, termínenlo. And we see you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to you. See you later.